The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from Dallas Cowboys training camp in Oxnard, California.
Howard streaks in, touchdown. Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Nick Harris, John Machota, and Kyle Yeomans.
It's a Thursday edition of Talkin Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys, as we welcome you for one final time to not so sunny Oxnard, California, as we have an overcast day today, and the Cowboys have wrapped up their final padded practice of training camp 2023, and we're about to talk about just how intense, just how chippy it was on the field here in Oxnard. Alongside Nick Harris, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We have a very special guest. Welcome back to Talkin Cowboys. One of the family members of Talkin Cowboys, the blood. Patrik No C. Walker, welcome back, my friend.
Hey, it's good to be back, even if it's only for this first segment. We have our guy Nick Eatman is going to tag in for the second segment, but that's because...
What about the third segment? What are we doing in the third segment?
Well, you know, that's between you, Beamer, and Mr. Harris here.
Well, what you don't know is that we're actually going to take you hostage.
Yeah, no.
No, we spoke about this. Is it a hostage situation if I allow it?
Oh.
So...
Hear that.
Yeah.
Hear that, break fam.
Yep, there you
Hear
go.
that, break fam.
Somebody type DE right now. Type Derek at the moment.
Yeah, Derek's over there. His Peter tingle is going off right now. He's like, wait, what?
like,
So Spidey sense.
I should probably tune in to Talkin Cowboys.
It's like Verlander wanting to go back to the Astros. Like deep down inside, he wanted to go back.
We're back. If only
No,
for
I
right
can't
now.
stand the Astros.
We're
That's a
back.
great reference. Very well
Back
done.
with my
Me neither.
brother. Shout out to Isaiah Stanback, who had a birthday on yesterday.
Yes, sir.
So talking about blood and bloodline, that is our guy right there, Isaiah. Can't wait to get back link with you guys next week when we're back in Frisco. But yeah, happy belated birthday to Isaiah Stanback, who turned yesterday.
30.
Yeah. 30. Turned 30 yesterday. He'll be in Seattle, so we could link up with him.
Yeah, he
Seattle.
will. Of course he will.
Yeah,
It's Seattle.
back at his hometown for his
Seattle.
birthday weekend. So that could be trouble. That could be trouble on the way. Speaking of trouble, a couple Cowboys kind of got into not trouble, but they were very active, let's say, in their final padded practice on Wednesday. Multiple times in the practice, the physicality was ramped up. You could see the intensity. I mean, there was no lapse all the way through of physicality through that padded practice yesterday. And it was honestly, and I said this on Nick's show yesterday, Storyline, it was one of my favorite padded practices to cover as a part of the Cowboys because there was just so much intensity, including the two scuffles that ended up happening. Nick, what were your thoughts on what happened yesterday?
Yeah, it's really funny because we were talking to Mike McCarthy. I think it was in the walk-off yesterday. And we were like, there hasn't really been any fights or any, a really big extracurriculars during training camp.
Jinx.
And he was like, yeah, we're still competing at a really high level, blah, blah, blah. Well, it ended up boiling over yesterday. And he came over to the media right over here in the end of the end zone yesterday. And he was like, you guys planted this. This is on you guys. And it was kind of in a joking matter. But, yeah, the physicality finally boiled over yesterday. It was good to see a couple of guys specifically get involved in that. A, Tyler Biadasz. Just because you want to see him, A, defending his boy in Brock Hoffman. And then B, he was in every single scuffle that was imaginable. I imagine myself to be a Tyler Biadasz in those situations. Just like, there's hands being thrown. Where's it at?
Go
Let's
time.
go. Let's go. So, no, it was fun to see those guys get after it, even if it is, cowboy on cowboy crime at times. But man, that just shows the intensity. That shows the competitive level at the end of the day. And I really love what Jaron Kearse said at the end of practice. He said, "We don't take no shh from anybody. All 32 teams." You could include the own.
Yes.
We don't take shh from nobody. So
All
I really like that.
32. So for those that were wondering if his math was off, no, it's not off. He's talking to his offense as well.
No, he did. He totally did.
But in that same statement, which I also love from Jaron Kearse, is he said that the offense, they were giving it back. So he said effective September 10th, opposing teams are going to have to take what the Cowboys offense is giving and what the Cowboys defense is giving. And it's an iron sharpens iron thing. And I continue to say, when iron sharpens iron, you get sparks. And when you get sparks, there's always going to be a chance for fire. The good news is that everybody came out healthy. Micah Parsons' hand is A-OK after the 1-2 he threw to Tyler Biadasz. But to Harris's point, one thing I love, because it's quiet as it's been kept, Tyler Biadasz has been one of the more fiery competitors here in Oxnard, and I love it because it feels to me as if, especially coming off of the Pro Bowl season, probably feels like he had to step up a little bit more in the absence of Zach Martin and controlling that interior, flanked by young guys. I feel like on a team full of hims, Tyler Biadasz is looking in the mirror and saying, hey, I'm him as well. I'm one of those guys. So it smells like he's starting to wear the Travis Frederick cologne, and I like that a lot from Tyler Biadasz, because when you have a center who's willing to be the enforcer and stand up for his fellow linemen, but then you have Zach Martin, who's always willing to do it. Yeah. Tyron Smith's willing to do it. Terrence Steele is willing. So that offensive line, now you have your five best. Let me find out that your five best are all dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're talking about keeping Dak Prescott clean. Now we're talking about buying time and carving open run lanes for Pollard and Deuce and Rico and whomever else might be on the roster there. So those types of practices, Kyle and I, we talked about it quite a bit yesterday. We were all smiles during the fights. I mean, we were ear to ear. We were showing all 32.
As long as everybody stayed healthy.
Football.
I worried.
It's football. It's not a pillow fight, ladies and gentlemen. No. It's football. If those things weren't happening, the narrative nationally and within the casual fan bases of all 32 teams would be, the Cowboys aren't ready to compete. They're soft. They're not. And then you'd say, well, look at the Chiefs. They're competing, and Kelsey's throwing hands. And look at this camp and this camp. But then as soon as the Cowboys finally spill over, now it's, they're falling apart. They're not falling apart. They're as together as they've ever been, if not more so.
I'll say this. I could have done without the second one, just because the hands being thrown on helmets.
Gosh, I could do without the hands being thrown.
On helmets. That is different if it's hands being
Thank
thrown.
goodness for the Guardian
hands
cap.
being thrown on helmets.
Yeah, they had
for
the soft cap.
Honestly, yeah. Thank goodness
so
for the helmet.
Here's the question. Were the hands thrown because the Guardian cap was present? And I say that because if it wasn't present, does Micah throw the hand?
Sounds like we have a question in our press conference.
Kudos to Sam Williams for showing what Mike McCarthy described. What Mike McCarthy described before practice as emotional discipline. Yeah. Sam Williams holding back that punch, because he and Brock Hoffman were going at it in two previous reps before that happened, before that video that we all posted. But when he went up, the restraint, that shows me that Sam Williams is maturing and is evolving, and that's going to be big for him going forward.
You can see the entire first scuffle, the Sam Williams scuffle on Training Camp Live, and you can watch the lead up. Even Nick Eatman, who's joining us in the second segment, at one point was like, if there was ever a time for a fight in training camp, this would be that time. And then guess what happened the next rep? So if you want to go back and watch it, you've got that. Patrick Nosey Walker has it on his Twitter. Nick Harris has it on his Twitter. I mean, there's plenty of places to see it. So I mean, overall, it's known that the scuffles happen, and I don't even really like calling it a fight. Nobody got a punch landed. It's a scuffle. That's what
kerfluffle.
That's exactly what it was.
Skirmish.
Very well done. So my next question, and by the way, send us some text line. Text and questions, 817-290-3298, the Talkin Cowboys podcast. Text line, 817-290-3298. We're going to answer your questions coming up in the next segment. But, Pat, when you see that kind of intensity, you see that level of competition, and it tells you they're ready, even though they are hitting people with the same uniform on, at least a different color on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. But it tells you that they're ready to hit week one. Does that mean that they're focused, or does that mean that they're just chomping at the bit going into that first week? It's either one of those.
I think it's a combination of the two. In padded practices, let me put it this way. The reason yesterday was the most intense is because yesterday they were allowed to really, more so than ever, kind of go through the whistle, right? Up to that point, there's been a lot of pulling your punches. Like, some hits have been laid, but not the hits, because you don't want to potentially injure a teammate. So a lot of that pulling back and pulling your punches at the last possible second from a bunch of alpha men who have competitive juices and are basically dogs at their respective position, it shows that they're craving fresh meat to me. They're craving the thought of getting into New York and playing the Giants Week 10 and hosting Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in Week 2. Both sides of the ball, ladies and gentlemen, showed me yesterday that they're ready to see the other uniform. They're ready to line up in front of the other uniform and start disproving a lot of these narratives that are saying they're not ready to take the leap. They've heard all of this all offseason, all the outside noise. They're not ready to take the leap. The offense, yeah, they got Brandon Cooks, but the offensive line, all these questions. Toughness. Tyler Biadasz says, oh, do you still have questions? Right? They're ready to start punching these other guys in the chest. Hopefully not in the helmet, but definitely in the chest and getting them out there. So, yeah, I love that they're craving fresh meat. I mean, these are a bunch of lions ready to hunt.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it was Curse that also said we're ready to see another opponent on the other side of the field. So, I week 1, week 2, whoever, week 18, let's get
Let's
it.
go.
Get into week 18.
NFC Championship, Super Bowl. Let's get it.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
I said it with my chest.
You did
because
say
I'm
it.
back on talk.
Yeah.
Back on the show and say it with your chest Thursday,
Said it with
baby.
my
It is.
chest.
Let's go. We need to get Isaiah back here banging the chest. All right. Who has been your practice standout, Patrik? I'll get yours in the third segment, but your practice standout through the entirety of Oxnard. Who's your MVP, your MV practicer?
The easy choice is going to be Micah, so I'll go with the more I could say co-MVP, Micah Diggs as co-MVPs.
Okay.
So I'll go with a little more challenging here. Give me John Stevens Jr. Just because I can't shake how many waves he's making in that tight end room, and that decision at tight end easily is going to be one of the most, if not the most difficult roster cut down decision to be made, especially if John Stevens Jr. goes out against Seattle and plays well, goes out against Las Vegas and plays well. I don't envy that conversation with Lunda Wells, Will McClay, Stephen Jones, and Jerry Jones. So John Stevens Jr., I mean, yeah, I love what he's bringing from the aspect of you come in, you're a young guy, a rookie no less, Schoonmaker, second-round pick, Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot, those are your three headliners. And he comes in making enough waves to have you start looking at Hendershot, McEwen. So the fact that you are now having that conversation, yeah, that's a big deal for me.
So just in the fact that you said you'll envy the conversation,
I don't.
we're going to put you in
I said I don't.
That's right. Yeah, you don't envy.
I don't
I'm going
envy
to
the
put you in the conversation. You're going to play the role of Mike McCarthy here.
Okay.
You're going to play the role of Linda Wells.
Okay.
I'm going to be the front office. Convince me who your 4 tight ends. I'm going to give you 4 tight ends. Who would those 4 guys
That's not
be?
fair because Lunda's going to 1 off 5.
Well, that's he can
easy
try.
argument.
He
Can I get
try
6?
And convince me. He can try and
Can I
convince
sneak
me to
Princeton
get 5
Fenton
if he
there?
wants. You
So-
can convince me to get 5 if you want it.
But
4 is what I'm giving you.
I think at this point, and I said it on my hit with 105.3 FM The Fan this morning, I think at this point it's time for everyone to start building out the practice squad as well, at least at the moment.
Okay.
Right? So you got 16 guys. So the Cowboys have done very well over the past 2 or 3 years. I think they've even led the league in retention for practice squad guys that were actually initially on their 90-man roster. So I'm confident the Cowboys can do so. So if I'm front office, Cowboys, I have that in the back of my mind. You're Wayne, who would have the better shot of clearing waivers and landing on the practice squad versus who would not. That being said, I'm going to go, obviously, Ferguson. Obviously, Schoonmaker, your rookie second-round pick.
Sure.
I'm keeping Peyton Hendershot. I don't think Hendershot's off this roster. Peyton Hendershot, I'm going John Stevens because I believe that I could get McEwen on the practice squad. So that's not me saying I don't want McEwen around. I believe we can keep him around.
Even with 3 years of NFL experience.
And one of the better blockers, I get it. But I wonder if let me put it this way. If John Stevens, who his name is starting to get some momentum behind it nationally.
Yep.
If he goes out and has an even stronger game against the Seahawks, and then he builds on that against the Raiders, how confident am I that he's going to clear waivers in a pass-heavy league
That is looking for
looking
big
for athletic,
tight ends.
big tight ends who can be red zone threats? That's more of a risk for me. So in that instance, I would keep John Stevens as my 4th. And then I would talk to McEwen and say, hey, let's get you on practice squad. And then we'll figure it out thereafter, as far as the elevations are concerned, because you have elevations from the practice squad. So that would be me. And I'm going to wait for Lunda to tell me.
Yeah, what do you think, Coach Wells?
Yeah, instead of talking in Lunda Wells' perspective here, I'm going to talk in Nick Harris's perspective.
I like it.
I like that, but you need that blocking tight end.
That's fair.
You need the guy that you can rely on 2nd and 3 to
That's
pick up
fair.
the first down whenever you want to run to his side. So I'm keeping Sean McEwen on the
Tell
roster.
Jake to block better.
You're right, 100%. And I will say, though, Jake
Fair.
has done
Has looked-
great
has
here at
looked
training
well.
camp.
Has looked
And in the
better.
preseason game,
Has
he had an
looked better.
opportunity where he was lead blocking, I believe, from Malik Davis.
So doesn't that
And
take
it was-
McEwen down a bit in the conversation?
Look, the way I see it, Ferguson, Schoonmaker.
Schoon,
If
yep.
he's fully healthy, I think that's a caveat in this entire conversation as well. Going McEwen, I want to have him and his reliable blocking on the field.
Fair enough.
And then I want the question answered from both of y'all: who has the higher upside from a receiving tight end? Who has more upside between John Stevens Jr. and Peyton Henderson?
Ooh, that's two
And your
different.
answer is who stays on the
Yeah,
team.
and that's two different things because they both have it. John Stevens, longer, bigger catch radius, bigger red zone threat. Peyton Henderson, quicker, more speedy in the open
Better route
field,
runner.
better route runner, bigger yak. That's the conversation. And I love what you pointed out as far as Schoonmaker's recovery from plantar fasciitis, because there's also the possibility, knock on wood, that if he doesn't progress as well over these next couple of games as the Cowboys medical staff would like to see, maybe he starts the season on pup, and then he's down for 4 games, which then the equation solves itself because now you have
Then you can keep everybody.
Ferguson, Schoon, Hendershot, and then John, and then 4 games in, then you have the conversation
And
again.
then you try and hide one of those guys on the practice squad once
Potentially
Schoonmaker
so.
comes
Yeah,
back. And
so
do you think that's even a possibility based off of what you've seen from Schoonmaker? Have you been underwhelmed by what you've
it's
seen?
not
from
that I've been
way
underwhelmed,
with
but
Schoonmaker?
I expected at this point his first practice in which he was activated, he was doing only individual drills.
Yeah.
Second practice, he did some team drills, but it was cherry picked on purpose. But based on these past few practices and then the game, I expected where we are right now that he'd be further along in getting targets and the Cowboys really testing him as the receiver component, but I've not seen that yet. So I wonder if it's not that I'm underwhelmed, it's that I'm wondering if they're doing their daily assessment post-practice and they're saying, okay, not quite yet for the full unleash. And if that's the case and if that continues to be the case, then yes, it's a pup conversation when it comes down to roster cuts. But again, we're having this conversation before the Seattle game. There are 2 more games to be played. There are at least 3 practices in Frisco to be had. We'll see how that progresses. I'm saying, though, that variable has to be a part of the conversation. And if it happens, then you already, you got your 4 tight ends solved, and then 4 games down for Schoon if that happens. But if it doesn't, good luck.
I want you to answer your own question.
Of who has
Who's
the
the
bigger
4th
upside?
guy? Yeah.
John Stevens Jr.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he has the more upside just because I think the question that we had with moving him to tight end at the start of training camp, the question we had as DallasCowboys.com people is, can he play in line? Can he put his hand in the ground, his nose in the dirt, and block outside? Yeah. And I've been really encouraged from him picking that up from Coach Linda Wells and applying it. And it's the first time he's done it in his career. Even going back to high school, he was playing quarterback in high school on offense at times. So, for him to pick up a completely new position, learn that's big time. I think that speaks to his upside, and then also his receiving ability. I mean, we saw it in the game against Jacksonville, but even if you didn't see it in the game against Jacksonville, maybe you've seen clips from training camp. I mean, this guy is a receiver first, and I think if you want a guy that can stretch the seams, a guy that can have a developed route tree, a guy that has those sure hands, it's John Stevens Jr. And there's nothing against Peyton Hendershot. I think he has a lot of upside in his receiving ability as well, but it's a tough league, and that's why it's the NFL, and one guy I think is better than the other right now.
Wow, I like it. Said it with your chest on a Thursday. Patrik No C Walker, Nick Harris. I'm Kyle Yeomans here on Talkin Cowboys. And by the way, send us your text messages. We already have one from the Talkin Cowboys podcast text line, 817-290-3298. It's the best one I've seen, honestly, from the time that we've been using the text line. It says Chris Beam for MVP. So there you go.
That's
How about
facts.
that? That is
Beamer.
facts.
That's facts.
Right there.
Yeah, science.
Beam is my 4th tight end, actually.
Beam's the 4th tight
the
end.
4th
All right,
tight end.
sweet. Yeah, the biggest upside out of all of them. Patrik, it's been great having you back on the show, man.
It feels
like
great.
old times.
Feels great, even if it's just for a moment. As we go to switch up, Nick Eatman will tag in off the ropes here in a second. But miss you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are killing it as always, as I knew you would. I hate that with the trade, I've turned op.
Yep.
But frenemies, let's put it that way. Friendly competition.
Frenemies,
But
yeah.
seriously,
Not even.
You guys are killing it. Nick Harris, I mean, that goes without saying. We talked about it offline. You are a certified BA. Can we say badass?
Yes.
Okay, you a certified badass.
I appreciate that.
So,
I appreciate that.
Kyle, as always, superstar Isaiah. Miss just having fun with you guys talking football, but this will not be the last time that I tap into talking.
There you go.
So stay tuned for more because I can't stay away. These are my guys.
Just feel free, whatever you want. Just come on,
Gym's
stop
always
on by.
open.
Stop
Gym's
on by.
always open.
Yeah. Get a couple pumps in. All right. When we come back here on Talking Cowboys, Nick Eatman joins the show, and we'll answer your podcast text line questions, 817-290-3298. More Talking Cowboys right after this.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Are you ready to take coffee off your grocery list forever? Black Rifle Coffee Club is here to help. As a coffee club member, you'll get your favorite coffees roasted, packaged, and shipped to your door free of charge on your preferred schedule. Set it, forget it, and never run low on coffee again. Members also get exclusive deals on coffee, products, and discounts from partner brands. Ease your mind and let Black Rifle worry about your coffee supply. Go to blackriflecoffee.com to join the coffee club today.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys, and now he's on his phone on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you. Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Welcome back to Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. This portion is brought to you by Quaker Oats, a super trusted superfood. Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Give us a text on the Talking Cowboys podcast text line, 817-290-3298. We already have some great ones on the text line already. Nick Harris and Nick Eatman.
What's up?
Nick and Nick. What's going on, guys? How's it going, Nick?
It's going great. Thought I'd fill in for Patrik here.
Oh, yeah?
What did he say? Where'd he go?
He was going to the press conference that hasn't started yet, so... Well, I think it was just an excuse to get out of dip out. That's okay. We still love Pat. But I mean,
he's eating breakfast over there. No,
is he? Is it Quaker Oats? Hopefully, he got some Black Rifle coffee. All right, Nick, you're not on the break anymore because you've started Cowboys Storyline. Really cool podcast, by the way. We both got a chance to go on there yesterday.
That was fun.
It was
I was
really
trying to kill 15 minutes. It was 24.
That's what happens when you get the team involved.
Chris Beam was over there going, okay, anybody else? It's hot.
Gave you one of these. Gave you one of those wrap-ups.
If I would have told him that Mickey was joining, he would have been like, no, we're done. We're done. That's enough. Everybody knows him.
Well, are you going to go 24 minutes today with your guest? Or
I would think McCarthy would come in and say, stop that, if that's the case. No, I think it's going to be 5, 6, 7 minutes. We'll see.
Who is that guest? It's a pretty big name.
Yeah, it's not.
It's Chris Beam
could
joining
be 4
the show?
minutes. Yeah. Chris Beam's going to be here running it for sure. I'm kind of superstitious, but I am like, all I'm saying is I'm looking forward to. Yeah. I think Dak's going to be on the show.
Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott finally. I'll say finally, but we've been trying to get him on.
Sure.
It was like, well, not
He's a
this
busy
week,
guy.
not this week, maybe the third week. So I'll say this: that if like the soon as the show's over with Dak and he leaves and then we finish it up, like this set is getting changed. Chris Beam was like, I'm only leaving this set up for Dak. Don't tell me any other players coming. I want to throw out another name, but anyone under Dak, I don't think so. What if I would have said, hey, Micah's coming? Would you have done it? Maybe. After the fight, yeah, after those hands
after the hands were thrown, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
That would have been pretty sweet too. No, this will be good. So, but it's been fun. It's been fun, kind of just talking with fans, talking with players. The players thing. This is only a training camp deal. We know when we get back to the Star, it's going to be just like fans and calls and the text line, and it'll be a quick 30-minute in and out. Right after you guys, actually, I'll be seeing you guys every time.
Oh,
I'll
cool.
I'll be like, Chris, let's go. I mean, get them
when we keep
Kyle.
talking through.
Yeah,
that'll happen.
And it's hard, man, with 45-minute shows. And you've got 4 people there, and especially after a game, I mean, it is hard. It goes by really quick. Yeah. So.
No doubt about that. Speaking to the fans, that's why we've brought you on, because we're going to hit some of these questions on the text line. First one's from our good friend Mario in South Texas, who's a loyal listener. He says, does the new roster cut down without the staggered cut down? It goes from 90 to 53 in one shot. Does that make it easier or more difficult for the coaches? And I'll start with you, Nick.
Certainly. I think it's easier for the coaches, not just for the cut down, but also to manage the game. You got to play the game. If you're just cutting down, then you got that last preseason game and all that. I think it's better to not have to keep guys that you wouldn't want to keep, but you need them because 2 guys at this position are hurt, so you have to play them. It just roster management, I think, is better to do it all at once, in my opinion.
The most important thing for me when it comes to evaluation is data and context. And if you can have more data and more context, then that helps at the end of the day for sure. So I like going straight from 90 to 53. I think the staggered cut maybe cut some guys too soon at times. So having those 3 preseason games, having the full training camp, that's going to provide more context and give you more data towards what you're trying to figure out.
It's always been, I mean, it feels like it just allows for more stress to build as it goes along, because you're on the cut line and you've got a Tuesday before the second preseason game where the roster cut downs are coming and you make the bubble. You got it. But guess what? You got 2 more weeks to get through after that. It provides for a little bit more stress, a little bit more, I guess, just overall anxiety with it. From a coaching staff standpoint, I think it would be harder to reevaluate in the week as opposed to reevaluate and have that data and have everything you've had on the table whenever you make that roster cut down and you try and keep guys to the practice squad. I think it does make it easier.
Y'all would know a little bit more here, but when was the staggered cut during training camp specifically?
It was Tuesdays before preseason games, right?
The Tuesday before the first preseason
No,
game?
I think it was after the first one, before the second
So, I mean,
one.
let's think about it on this roster right now. Obviously, we only have like 2 days since the first staggered cut would have been. But, like, there are guys that are probably would have been cut on that staggered line who still have an opportunity in these next 2 weeks to move up and get a practice squad opportunity. So, I'm player first. And if I'm player first, then I'm always saying, let's go from 90 to 53.
Yeah, and just think, let's say that Zach didn't come back this week. And then so that, if you have to make some cuts, you're like, okay, well, we don't have Zach here, even though he counts to the 90. And so we need a little bit more linemen there. And then Edoga's hurt, even though, so then there's another spot. So you're keeping players at positions that you might not have in the past, but you need it for certain reasons just to get through games. So I think it's better to do it all at once here.
Have multiple questions on the text line. This one specifically is Joe from Florida. Should the Cowboys bring in a veteran kicker to challenge Brandon Aubrey at the kicking position? Yesterday he looked pretty good. He missed 1 field goal, and, I mean, it went to the left a little bit. But is that enough for you to feel confident in Brandon Aubrey, a kicker?
As of right now, I love the opportunity that he's been given to be solo and have it all onto him to either win it or not. We know what a veteran kicker can bring to the table because there's going to be a lot of context there with, I think we talked about it on Camping Out a couple of nights ago. Mason Crosby and Robbie Gould each, they had a strong season last year by normal standards. So let Brandon Aubrey have the full opportunity. Give him these kicks, give him these reps, and at the end of the preseason, then you evaluate. there is one roster spot open though, with Vizcaino out of the picture now. So if they wanted to, that spot is open. But I would personally like to see that used in another spot, at least during training camp. And then if Brandon Aubrey's not the answer, then you switch out Brandon Aubrey with either Crosby or Gold down the line.
You don't have to bring a guy in and let him get acclimated or anything like that. I don't think, to answer the question, I don't think a veteran's coming in to compete with Aubrey. I think a veteran comes in if they decide he's getting the job.
And if you're a veteran kicker, why would you?
Yeah.
If you know that you'll probably have an opportunity at some point during the season, because kickers get signed and dropped and signed all the time during the season.
Sure.
So if you're a veteran kicker like Mason Crosby or Robbie Gold, personally, I wouldn't be like, hey, yeah, I'm 40. Let me go compete with this 23-year-old for a couple weeks.
No, that's true.
I get a lot of reps anyways. You need to give them to Aubrey.
Yeah.
Keep giving them to him. And I think this will be a big test for me. If it's I want to see a 45, 48-yard field goal at Seattle on the road, crowd, all that. I want to see that type of kick for him. I think this is important for them to give him an opportunity to do that. So maybe even the play calling is that way. 3rd and long at the 30-yard line. I mean, throw it deep or whatever, get a touchdown. If not, let's get a long field goal.
Well, even with it being Seattle in a preseason game, I mean, it's a hostile, it's a loud environment. It'll be a good test for him.
Yeah, and the thing with Brandon Aubrey, they don't need him to be the 50-plus guy. They just need him to be the reliable guy under 49. With this defense, you can pin a team deep and just trust the defense down there to get the ball back, around the same territory from where you punted it. So, they just need him to be reliable on PATs, and they need him to be reliable under 49. And if he can do that, then man, you got a contract, buddy.
I definitely we said the exact same thing yesterday on the break. It's like I don't want a guy that's trying 60-yard field goals, all that. I don't even want to attempt the long 55 if I don't need to. I'll punt it and play good defense and get the ball back, before you know it.
You know what the double-edged sword there is going to be, though? Mike McCarthy, he's too conservative as a play caller. I can hear it.
Well,
I can hear it.
You can argue, because then you could also come back and go, well, who cares if you miss the 55-yarder? If you have this great defense, you'll just stop them and you'll get the ball.
That's
back.
valid, too. Yeah. That's honestly valid as well.
Good point.
But I like pushing it back because
I do too.
I think an offense is going to be a lot more conservative on their own 9-yard line with Micah Parsons on this side and Tank and all these guys than playing at midfield.
Sure.
And so I would keep leaning on them and pushing them back.
No, I feel that completely, especially if you can have an offense that shows a little bit of life. I mean, use it while you can, because you have the defense on the other side of the ball. All right, again, multiple questions. This one's from Kenneth out of Port Arthur. He's asking, the West Coast offense normally carries a fullback. Do you think they're going to carry a fullback? And most notably, Hunter Lipke questions lining up the text line. Nick Harris.
Yeah, shout out to the PA. Port Arthur made a lot of stops at Port Arthur Memorial back in my day. But something that I found really interesting during the first preseason game, there were a couple of plays where Princeton Fant lined up as a fullback. And that same exact question kind of popped through my head. Does this offense need one? And whenever I started to think about it, who gets taken off as far as from the 53? What position group gets one slotted back? And if someone does, then that's going to be a tough cut. But I will say at Green Bay, Mike McCarthy, he figured out how to use a fullback. And I think going out and getting Hunter Lipke as the very first undrafted free agent, I think that was done because there was a plan for him. So if they want to have a fullback on this roster, the fullback is on the roster. I think it would be interesting to see how they use him moving forward, though, because he hasn't been in that fullback role yet. When he had the opportunity to be the fullback, it was Princeton Fant. So we'll see. I'm actually very interested in that as well.
Yeah, I really don't think there will be a fullback on the roster. I think it'll be another tight end. I think they love the tight ends. I think they're going to have a hard time cutting Sean McEwen. He's a player that kind of does that fullback role. They really like him, and of course you've got John Stevens in the mix, and of course Hendershot and the top two. That's going to be a tough position right there. That I think that will bleed over into the fullback role. And if Lipke's going to do it, let's go. When is this going to happen here?
I think. Well, let's answer this question then. What do you want from a fullback? You want a guy that is A, physical, B, can block, and C, is athletic. Sean McEwen.
Special teams
even
too.
Luke Schoonmaker at times, you know.
Yeah.
So and special teams, absolutely. So I you know, those guys got those chops. So you know, I think there's probably some double use you could take out of a tight end there.
And you also, if you've got him on the roster, I'm not saying just any backup, but if you have a guy like we've seen with Connor McGovern, a backup guard or backup tackle, or maybe a defensive player that has a little bit of quickness to him, I could see that maybe happening from a fullback. You can kind of get the fullback done in different ways. We've seen some linebackers that they did it with Luke Gifford last year,
they've
right?
used it a couple different times. Connor McGovern was playing that fullback on the goal line package. I mean, they've had ways to do it.
I tell you, I don't know if he's ever done it, but Devin Harper wouldn't be bad there because he loves to hit.
Comes downhill too.
Boom. It's just those linebackers like that. I mean, I've seen it happen. There's a player by the name of Oliver Hoyt. I guarantee you guys have never heard of him.
Nope.
Oliver Hoyt.
Chris Beam has.
2006 linebacker. They moved him to fullback. Robert Thomas, a fullback. They call him Red Rock back in the day too. So it's a good transition. I'm not saying a full position switch, but every now and again, I could see it happening.
Yep. Playbook innovator Nick Eatman joining us here on Talking Cowboys as he's looking for ways to find a fullback, and he's looking on the opposite side of the football. I like it. All right, when we come back, how has D-Law been faring? There's a big question up front about, of course, Micah Parsons has been unstoppable, but has DeMarcus Lawrence turned some heads? We'll talk about that when we come back in our final segment on Talking Cowboys.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Black Rifle Coffee Company serves premium coffee to people who love America. When you drink Black Rifle coffee, you are directly supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders in your community. Black Rifle's expert roasters love coffee almost as much as Texas loves football, so it makes sense that America's Coffee partnered with America's team. Go online at blackriflecoffee.com and fuel up with the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. That's blackriflecoffee.com to fuel up today.
Want to use the Cowboys locker room's favorite products? Check out the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. Right now, you can get the Jack Black Playmaker, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The Playmaker includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word Cowboys. The Jack Black Playmaker, $10, free shipping.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
This segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys, as we welcome you back in to Talkin' Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company. We have Nick Eatman. We have Nick Harris. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. I pointed at the wrong person, but don't worry. It was the right sentiment. It was fine. Don't worry. I got it here. We have a ton of questions on our Talkin' Cowboys podcast text line. It's been a ton of fun. Honestly, there are a lot of them, so you've got plenty to go with going into storyline here in a couple hours. All right. We have heard, this is from Tony and Indy, we have all heard that Micah Parsons has been unstoppable throughout training camp, which is fair. But I don't think I've heard DeMarcus Lawrence's name a whole lot. How is D-Law looking rushing off the edge, Nick Harris?
So I'll say this, and I'll just regurgitate what Mike McCarthy said in his press conference yesterday because he was asked about this. He said since he has been here, this has been DeMarcus Lawrence's best training camp. And he pointed to the metrics that they take off of the devices that they wear during practice and how much energy they're exerting and where they're putting that strength and those GPS systems. He said his numbers are off the charts. They're miles better than they've been in years past, and he said that's not to discredit what he's done in years past. So as far as him applying and being fully healthy, I think this is a fully complete DeMarcus Lawrence. He's battled injuries in the last couple of years, and he's finally ready to put it all together this season. And as far as on-field performance, I understand where people are coming from because you hear Micah Parsons' name every day. You even hear Mozzie Smith getting involved, Osa Odigizua. But at the same time, you're never really going to know the full strength of an offensive lineman or defensive lineman until it's a live game setting and you can see what they can do fully when it's not the two-touch predicament that sometimes happens out here. So, man, wait till the season. Circle back on me week 3, week 4 if you have any concerns about DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah, he's just a guy that stops the run better than people think, and I thought him making the Pro Bowl last year was a big credit to that, where people are understanding just the value that he brings. And if you're going to get 3 sacks in a game, do it on Monday Night Football like he did against the Giants.
Yeah, that works.
But for the most part, yeah, he's been kind of quiet. Now, he did get in there at that fight yesterday without a helmet. I thought that was one that he needs to, he needs to be careful with that. But, that was a tricky deal because, you're standing up for your guys at the same time you're trying to he helped Sam Williams kind of calm him down a little bit. Tank's been a guy that's been the one that's had to be held back in the past.
No doubt. And he's taken over the leadership role. You can see it. He's still very much so an extension of the coaching staff whenever it comes to some of these young guys. Even Micah, even Sam Williams. There's been times when DeMarcus Lawrence has been kind of the big brother in that room in terms of the mental side of things. I liked the way that he came to Sam Williams' defense yesterday because just as Tyler Biadasz was going to Brock Hoffman's defense and decleated Sam Williams in the process, DeMarcus Lawrence didn't like the way that Biadasz defended Sam Williams and was extra physical with Sam Williams. So the first person up there was DeMarcus Lawrence, even without a helmet on. Yep. I guarantee the helmet wasn't on because D-Law was like, I'm not going to get in the mix here. I'm not going to be involved.
But he had to do it.
But then as soon as that happened, he went straight forward and beelined right to the middle of the situation. I respect that a lot. I really do. And I think as long as you have guys like that, even if it's on your unit and you're playing against your own team, when you have guys like that are going to stand up for each other, what's going to happen whenever your 53 is playing a whole different 53? Oh, yeah. I think it completely shows the type of camaraderie and teammate work that you would want from a championship caliber team. And so I really liked that. That was a part of yesterday that I really liked, and DeMarcus Lawrence was a big part of that. On the field, I think he's been solid. I don't think he's flashed as much as Micah has, but there's certainly a lot of times where you'll see 90 in the backfield too. Yep. And that's a credit to him getting in the backfield, setting the edge, and really continuing to press the issue as a pass rusher. I think he does a great job of doing so. All right, guys, from Brian in Colorado, do you think the front office is more likely to sign a veteran free agent guard or trade a defensive player for one if they needed some depth on the offensive line? We don't have to talk about specifics in terms of a trade, but which scenario do you think is more likely?
I love this question. I'll say that, but I'll let Nick start.
I haven't even come up with an answer yet.
That's why I'm letting you start. I haven't done it either.
I could see them trying to make a trade trying to trade a defensive end defensive lineman before they just cut him. Mm-hmm. I could see that. The numbers are just the guy that kind of, I'm not gonna say messes it up, but because clouds it is Junior Fehoko because he's not going anywhere, and he's probably not going to be one of your top guys. They're going to cut a player better than Fehoko, but they're going to keep Fehoko, obviously. So that's what's going to be tricky. I think they're going to try to trade someone. And then what do you get for that? Do you get another pick next year? Do you get a veteran lineman? Do you get a running back? Do you get a kicker? But I think it starts with just a surplus of defensive linemen, really, at the tackle position.
I think what's kind of interesting whenever we talk about, trying to trade for guard depth, why not trade for tackle depth and let Tyler Smith stay at left guard if there is a problem there? I would just say offensive line depth from a whole totality. And if it were me, I would like to see a trade from one of the depth defensive linemen. There's one name in specific in my mind, but I'm not going to say it, that I would love to see traded because I think his value is at its peak right now, and I think it only decreases as every day goes by. So I would like to see that trade happen just because I think you could get a guy that's a veteran that could step in if somebody does go down at either tackle or guard. So that would just be my preference. Or like you said, a pick. They're already down one pick. They'll probably get it back, but they're already down one pick for next year's draft. But, you can go ahead and get that one back too as well.
I think y'all are spot on in the way that you're saying it, but also just from the market standpoint, if there's a good offensive lineman who's available to be a swing tackle or to be a second-string guard, he's in a camp somewhere at this point in the process. I mean, they'll have the veterans like a Jason Peters who's on the side and he's just not doing anything, and there's a couple names I think that are very much so like that, but at least there's sure-thing offensive linemen that are going to be first- or second-teamers and the ability to be a starter at some point if things go wrong. They're in a camp. Like teams have already snatched them up by this point.
And they don't want to part ways with them.
No, they do not.
Just because it's a swing tackle on another team, I mean, that's a valuable position.
Yes, it is.
And so, that you're going to get a lot. You're going to have to give up more than you think just to get a good line. They don't cut good linemen out there.
No.
Good linemen really aren't on the street unless they're 40.
You may have to package a pick with your defensive lineman that you're trying to offer up there. And I would be too, because that's the value that you have. Most teams don't have 5 good offensive linemen. Almost no teams in the NFL have 6. I mean, it would be 1 or 2 teams in the NFL maybe have 6 good offensive linemen. So trying to find that extra guy would take a good pretty penny.
I think I would trade for, more than anything, I think I'd trade for a running back.
You think so?
That's what I would do.
I think that's more of a likely scenario. I think I would rather try and pick up some offensive line depth, but if you're talking about likelihood.
Just not comfortable with the running back position.
Not at all?
Not really.
Would you rather trade for a running back or sign Leonard Fournette?
So we can talk about that one.
That would make me feel better.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, the running back situation I think is so fluid, and the fact that it's still fluid going into a preseason week 2, and that any of these guys can still win the job. A, that speaks to the competition level, but also B, I think that does speak to your point a little bit too, that it's a little bit of a concern. And we've talked about it with Mike McCarthy ad nauseum. Can Tony Pollard be that 15, 20, 25 carry guy on a week-to-week basis? And he's confident in it. And, I can't knock him if we haven't seen it, but I worry about him taking that much load every single week. I would like to see a guy that can at least take 8 carries off of that load every week, and I think Leonard Fournette would be a great addition to that room to do that. But also, I think Rigo Dowdle has an opportunity to do that. I think Deuce Vaughn has an opportunity to do that. So,
and maybe
we'll see.
Sorry, maybe they can just get through the first couple games. I mean, Ronald Jones. There was a couple moments out here at camp that I not many, because he did get hurt. But there was that at least one practice a couple days after the suspension, did a really nice job, and I was like, okay, I see the he's like a complete back. The speed, quickness, burst, patience, but you got to get through those first 2 games. So,
would you? I mean, last year Leonard Fournette was on a 1-year, $2 million deal. I mean, that's all he was paid last year. I think that would be an easy signing for me to just provide some of the depth, even if it's at that same contract. And a lot of people probably wouldn't do that since he's 28 years old and he's going into his age 29 season.
Here's a problem that it's a good problem to have. But what is Deuce Vaughn going to be able to provide as a special teams player, covering kicks?
Actually, technically, it was like $6.9 million with the signing bonus. Yeah, 2 sounded a little low. I had to go back into it. It was a $2 million base salary, $6.9 million. Okay. So let's say it's half that.
Yeah,
half that, or even 3/4 of that.
Yeah,
I think I would still be okay with it.
But I think Deuce, is he going to, usually your third running back's going to have this role where he does a lot of stuff on special teams. I don't know if they're going to put Deuce in that role. So my point is, if you get a veteran running back like a Fournette, Tony's not playing special teams. Fournette's probably not playing special teams, and Deuce isn't playing special teams to the level that you normally would have a third running back play. So that's going to cause kind of an issue there. That's why I see a Malik Davis or a Dowdle taking that number 2 spot, because it probably still would help on special teams.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, Deuce has been getting so much work at personal protector, which has been interesting. I think it's almost baptism by fire at times to give him some reps in covering, whether that be blocking for a punter or blocking for a quarterback. So
I think he's the backup.
You think so?
Deuce
you think
Vaughn?
he's RB2 right now?
I think they're gonna give him that opportunity to be that guy.
I'll say this: I think a lot of people want him to be, and I'm not talking about the fan base. I think a lot of people want him to be, and I think that's why they throw him into those situations, as far as being on the personal protector side on the punt unit, giving him all those opportunities in the second half to just kind of run with it. He got a quarter and a half of play on Saturday, and when you have 4 guys that are trying to get carries, that speaks volumes, even if he didn't start the game. So
think about how many young guys are in college football right now that probably taller than him, but still really short and all that. Like it happens all the time, but it's surprising a little bit to watch what he did and to think that he lasted that long.
Yeah.
Because I get Danny Woodheads of the world, guys small college, but not someone at Kansas State who's one of his main highlights is ripping through Alabama's defense.
Yeah.
So it translates to the NFL. It's really surprising that he lasted that long.
I will say this: he has started to cause the college football landscape to look for the next Deuce Vaughn. If you're not familiar with Raleek Brown at USC, that's the next Deuce Vaughn. So
how tall?
There's 5'7". Yeah, so he's a little bit taller.
A little bit bigger.
He's gonna get on the roller coaster, but he's he's sorry, that was a little much. But he's really he's lightning in a bottle, and he's a track guy first too, which I think translates as well.
I don't know if I expected that mental image that we just heard from Nick Harris. That was good. But I'm excited. Yeah. No, you're good. I'm excited to see what he has in Seattle. I'm excited to see what Deuce continues to do as we go along. And there's plenty of questions still to be answered in the running back room. Should they go get the outside guys? Should they stick with who they've got? Stick it out with Ronald Jones. And whenever he's back and healthy and then back from the suspension, see what he has as well. I mean, there's plenty on the table for this running back group. And it's not going to be solved this week, and it won't be solved maybe. Hopefully it'll be solved by the third preseason game, but I don't even think it'll be solved by that point. But that's going to do it here for us on Talking Cowboys. You've got the Mike McCarthy press conference coming up here in a little bit as the Cowboys prepare to have a mock game on the field. Final time they'll take the field here in Oxnard before traveling to Seattle. It'll be Bill Jones, Isaiah Stanback, myself on the call with Nick Eatman down on the sideline for that broadcast on Saturday, 9 p.m. Central Time kickoff. That does it for us on Talking Cowboys. For Nick Eatman, for Nick Harris, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long. We'll see you next time.
We get the walk-off music.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?